Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching an India Today special broadcast on the big exit polls. Don't get stressed, we're not leaking any data on this poll. We can't even reveal what the exit poll data consists of. But what we will do over the next 1 hour is have a very high quality conversation around what to look out for in the exit polls. Which are the toughest states to be polling in? Where is fear factor the highest? Which is the state that's going to be easiest to call? What should viewers be looking out for when they see the exit poll numbers on the 19th of May? And for this conversation, I'm joined on this broadcast by some of India's sharpest political minds. I want to introduce first my colleague, India's ace political journalist Rajdeep Sardesai. With us also at this time, I want to introduce our pollster Pradeep Gupta from Access My India. With me in the studio, two very sharp pollsters themselves. We've got Sanjay Kumar, lead cephalogist for CSDS. We've got Yashwant Deshmukh, lead cephalogist for C-Voter. With us from Bengaluru at this time is Dr. Sandeep Shastri from Jain University, working on the Lok Niti exit polls. Lots of numbers, they have them in their heads. Let's see how much we can extract from them during the next 40-odd minutes. With us also, representing the Bharatiya Janata Party, Narendra Taneja, Sanjay Jha from the Congress. Question number one on this exit poll show: which is the most complicated state to call in the 2019 exit polls? Let me put that question first to Rajdeep.
Well, I think, thanks very much, Rahul. I think there are two states which are tough to call. Uttar Pradesh, which is notoriously tough to call, and particularly because you've now got a Mahagathbandhan, which adds a new X factor of Akhilesh and Mayawati, and Bengal. Now, normally Bengal, correct me if I'm wrong, was a relatively easy state to call. In the left years, the left would dominate. In the last couple of elections, Trinamool has dominated. Now you've got a situation where it's almost certain that the BJP is increasing its vote share at the expense of the left, but by how much? And I think it's very difficult to convert vote share into seats in a state where a new player has emerged. This is the real first big election for the BJP in Bengal. So if you ask me that question, I think Bengal is going to be a nightmare. And the other one, which is a bit of a nightmare, interestingly, is Odisha. Because you've got Assembly and Lok Sabha elections, and for the first time people are talking about a split ticket, that you want Naveen Patnaik in Bhubaneswar and Narendra Modi at the center. That doesn't happen very often. Will that actually happen in an Indian election is a question mark. So Bengal, Odisha, I would say toughest to call in this election, and then Uttar Pradesh.
But you need to pick one. Uttar Pradesh has always been tough to call. Now there is Bengal as well. Sanjay Kumar, which is the one state which is going to be a cephalogist's nightmare on the 23rd of May, and why?
I think I have a different question to pose to myself. Which is one state which is where the prediction is going to be very easy?
I'm coming to that later.
I think in many states, Rajdeep mentioned about UP and West Bengal, but if you force me to pick one state, I think UP is going to be very...
Why? Why is UP tougher than Bengal in your view?
Because people are talking about two things, whether it is arithmetic which is working or whether it is chemistry which is working. If you look at the arithmetic, you get a different narrative. If you think of the chemistry, it could be a different narrative.
Okay, Yashwant Deshmukh.
Agree, couldn't agree more. I mean, UP has
UP is tougher than Bengal and Odisha. Why?
Absolutely, for a simple reason that UP is not one single state. I mean, we call it a one single state. It's going to be 80 individual elections in Uttar Pradesh. That's as simple as that. In Bengal, you can still look into regional splits, regional variations, kind to come up with some kind of uniform swing in different type of regions. And then there are some really, really strong votes of Trinamool and really strong votes, just like Rajdeep said, that how much of left shift is happening to BJP. Those are things which academically certainly very much interesting on, but there is a limit to what can happen in Bengal or what cannot happen in Bengal. But UP, because of simple reason, Mr. Narendra Modi is
You think there are 80 separate seats, 80 separate fights in Uttar Pradesh?
Not only that, Rahul, if Narendra Modi is Prime Minister today on his own as an individual, BJP's majority, it is courtesy UP and UP alone.
Okay.
So UP in any case is critical
Gupta,
and the most important state.
Would you agree with the contention that Uttar Pradesh is tougher to call than West Bengal, or do you think West Bengal poses unique challenges in this election?
Yeah, I would say for us, Odisha is difficult to call because of simultaneous elections happening there, and BJP has successfulully made some inroads there. And already the Naveen Babu, which is BJD incumbent government, enjoying the for some 20 years rule. So it is very difficult to call, and also most importantly, this is tribal and backward state Odisha. I mean, to ask voter whom you voted for assembly and for the Lok Sabha, and what they say and what to believe and what not to believe is a nightmare for us.
Okay, Sandeep Shastri, you've got Pradeep Gupta saying Orissa is a nightmare. You've got Yashwant saying in Uttar Pradesh there are 80 separate fights, virtually 80 separate elections. Which is the toughest state in your view?
Rahul, if you had asked me first, I may have given a similar answer, but as you have come to me right at the end, I'm going to give you a different answer. While I agree with what my friends have said, I would say we must focus on the south. There are states in the south which will become very difficult to call. Karnataka is going to be very difficult to call given the closeness of the contest because of the presence of an alliance which we have never tested in the past. I also would believe Kerala will be difficult to call because the BJP is trying to make deep inroads there. They may come up with a seat or two, and that may upset the LDF-UDF competition that has happened till now. And finally, I would say Tamil Nadu also will be tough to call in terms of not who will be the leader, but how much will the leader lead by. I think for me, these three states in the south are something I'm going to look out for very carefully.
What's the one state the BJP is most concerned about? What's the one state that you think is most complicated? Would you give that to Uttar Pradesh or West Bengal? The one state that will determine where you end up in the final tally.
I wouldn't use the word difficult or challenging. Interesting. I would say West Bengal has been extremely interesting for us, and followed by Orissa. As far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned, we look at Uttar Pradesh in, like we have to break it into three: Western Uttar Pradesh, Central and Eastern. And I think Uttar Pradesh is a very, very familiar territory for us, and we know how to work there, how to deal with the challenges. But I think the most exciting, most interesting states, and where we expect very good results on the ground on the 23rd, are West Bengal, followed by Orissa.
Sanjay Jha, which is the one state the Congress has the most hopes from? Is there any state at all where you hope to grow by a double-digit figure? Not grow to double-digit, but grow by a double-digit figure?
Well, Rahul, I'm not in the business of political prognostications. I believe this is a very uncomplicated election, actually. The BJP is going to lose pan-India across states. But where would the Congress party, where I am, frankly speaking, looking for sizable gains, at the same time, a very fascinating state is the state that I live in. Very often, it gets dwarfed by the enormity of Uttar Pradesh. But I believe Maharashtra is one which is going to probably show some very, I hope, fascinating results for the Congress and the NCP. Remember that, the Shiv Sena and the BJP also are a formidable alliance. I'm not going to deny that. But with four parties in a state which is very different in Western Maharashtra, the issues of Vidarbha, Marathwada are also complex. And I think the issues are also very diverse. It has got cities, it's got big towns. At the same time, the rural distress and the whole issue of the Maratha agitation also have to be factored in.
Okay.
So I believe Maharashtra is really a very intriguing state. I'm sure we are going to do well. I'm also very confident that the BJP will see a downsizing happening across the country.
Okay, so I want to come to question number 2 on this special broadcast. Do pollsters even know what's going on? Do voters in India lie to pollsters more than they do elsewhere? Do voters lie to pollsters more in India than they do in other countries? Rajdeep.
I'm not a pollster, but look, as a reporter, I sometimes believe actually reporters tend to catch the hawa better than pollsters. I know this is controversial in a gathering of pollsters, but I've seen reporters, I've seen my stringers in the past actually get the sense of a place. Sometimes you get too localized, but there are times, Rahul, where reporters, if they've really done their homework and spent time in a place, can do as well as pollsters. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it just depends on the kind of, you see, I think many people go into a poll with wishful thinking or preconceived notions. So if you're anti-Modi, you're looking for things which will convince you Mr. Modi is not winning. And if you're pro-Modi...
And you are convinced journalists don't do that.
No, I said there are good if you're a good journalist, if you're objective, if you have a knowledge, you can do as well as a pollster. I refuse to accept that pollsters have any superior knowledge beyond their empirical authority of numbers. There are journalists who actually know what small things. In Uttar Pradesh, what is happening? We think it's bipolar. In many constituencies, I think the BJP has put up dummy candidates just to cut even 5,000 votes if possible in some places. Now that may not always come to light through a pollster, but a stringer will tell you about it because he knows how the local arithmetic is working. And you'll see a lot of that in. So I'm not putting pollster versus journalist.
Actually kind of agree.
Is there a way of knowing, Yashwant Deshmukh,
totally agree
the
with
extent to
Rajdeep
which
on one
voters
thing.
lie? Are you concerned that voters aren't telling you the truth?
They do, and I agree with Rajdeep that, I am a journalist first. I became a pollster later because I understand two things. Journalism comes in where you are asking the question, and journalism comes in when you are analyzing the data. But the pure science of stratified random sampling or random probability sample, that is where the science of polling comes in. So basically that bias of picking up a round person or a certain area, when that is removed, then basically there is no difference. I don't see. As a journalist myself and as a pollster who has become a pollster after journalism, I see that, polling is just an extension as far as my
Sanjay
journalism
Kumar,
is concerned.
Can I just ask, is it true that Tamil Nadu, for example, for the longest time I was told that people never told the truth in Tamil Nadu?
But Rajdeep,
Or because of a fear factor.
I'm so glad you picked up Tamil Nadu because I was about to say this. In my polling career of last 20 years, arguably we are the only one who have got the last 3 assembly elections of Tamil Nadu bang on. Only one. And I can say with full humility that it was only because of my journalistic backdrop that I could gauge the sense, how the Tamil Nadu was going, with all humility. And at this point of time also, Tamil Nadu after Uttar Pradesh, I consider as the toughest state.
Okay, Sanjay Kumar, you need to answer this question. Because everyone's asking this, so they go and do their poll, but people don't tell them the truth. Do voters in India lie to pollsters more than they do in other countries?
I would disagree, and I have a point. I have evidence why I disagree. We don't only do election polling, we do various kinds of studies, and we have been asking similar questions over a period of time. We also look at the profile of voters, and when you look at some of the questions on which we don't expect people's view to be changing overnight, so there are questions of like trust in democracy, trust in police, various such issues. And if we plot the data, if we look at the data over a period of time, we get a sense that people are not lying.
Now, out of 100 people you speak to in a poll, how many do you think are lying? Sanjay Kumar.
Very difficult to give a number to this, but I don't think even 5% people are lying.
Yashwant Deshmukh, if you speak to 100 people, how many do you think?
There is no gain for the people to lie in a poll.
I don't think that they lie on purpose. It is just that when you are talking in a public open environment, there are not even sensitive, I will not even call it a fear factor. Say for example, on 2 occasions we definitely feel that a significant number, because we do a tracker and we know the person who has said the same thing a week back and like that. Like in Delhi, when the Aam Aadmi Party sweep was underestimated, we said that Aam Aadmi Party is forming the government, they are winning, but that sweep was underestimated by about 5 or 6 points. That was largely because there was an overlapping of popularity of Narendra Modi and Arvind Kejriwal. So in the affinity, a lot of people who passed the broom inside, they said to the pollster about 7-8%.
Okay, Pradeep Gupta,
that is why I think Odisha is tough. For that very reason.
Odisha is tough. And
it's very, because people are saying in Odisha, we like Naveen Patnaik, but we also like Narendra Modi.
Punjab opposite
So it's not
happened.
going to be easy.
Those who said that they voted for broom outside actually voted for Congress inside. So that is what.
Why did they do that?
They did that because in the last phase of the campaigning, the Khalistani element came in, and a lot of middle class Hindu voters, particularly urban segments in Punjab, who were actually pro Aam Aadmi Party, but they got extremely paranoid because of the Khalistani sentiment.
Okay,
And
so
eventually
Pradeep
they
Gupta,
voted for Congress. rather than
Pradeep
Aam
Gupta,
Aadmi
if you sample 100 voters, how many do you assume have lied? Do voters lie to pollsters more than they do elsewhere?
I think it is 90% of time voter reveal the truth. It is 5 to 10% time they take things very casually, which may not be the serious answer, but I would say 90% of time they reveal the truth.
No, so you're saying they may
It also
not
depends
give you the
how-
full
how
truth
you
because
are
they're being
asking the
casual,
question.
unke paas
It also
time
depends
nahi
on
hai.
that.
It's not
If you
like they're
connect them
deliberately
with, well,
no, one second, hear my question. They're not deliberately trying to put you on the wrong
mixed
track.
together. Sometimes Yeah.
Okay, Sandeep.
No, it is not deliberately. It is many factors. Sometimes they are busy. Sometimes they are busy. Sometimes they are in group. Sometimes they don't want to reveal the answer, so they give just the casual answer just to get rid of you.
Sandeep
That's
Shastri,
it.
what's your assessment?
But
Out
it
of
also
100, how
depends
many
how you are
pollsters
asking
may
the
be
question.
lying? Do
I would
pollsters
take-
have
I
to
would
discount the lying factor?
Rahul, I would discount the fact that people lie. It all depends on how well trained your field investigators are to be able to approach people. And I think Sanjay and I would make this point that the Lokniti surveys, we give so much of importance to the training of our field investigators, that our field investigators make sure that they have that level of confidence developed in them by the respondent, and that lying does not happen. Rahul, the problem is not that our respondents don't tell the truth. They do tell the truth. The question is, as you bring all that together, as you bring all your responses together, the way as researchers we collated, the way as researchers we interpreted, the challenge could actually come there. So if we do a mistake in terms of, if the conclusion we come up with, I would not blame my respondents for that. They have told me the truth. I would blame the limitations that we have developed with regard to our survey instruments to be able to project that.
Okay. So, Sanjay Jha, is this one of the Congress's big hopes, that voters are lying to pollsters, that actually they don't like Narendra Modi, but just because of peer pressure, because of Hawa, because of Mahal, they start telling pollsters that they are voting Modi when they're actually going and voting for the Punjab?
Rahul, there are 2 points here. One gentleman on the show just mentioned that there could be 10% of the people who are not perhaps speaking the truth. Now, that is probably double the margin of error that you normally have post an opinion poll or an exit poll. So that, frankly speaking, is very disconcerting, because it can completely skew the ultimate result that you'll broadcast before the final results are out. Secondly, don't forget, over the last 5 years, there has been a lot of psychological intimidation of the common man, the minorities, the Dalits, the scheduled tribe. I mean, there has been a specter of fear in our country, and a lot of people, forget even those who feel they are being attacked or they are targeted. Even the average person today is a little scared, paranoid about expressing their preference for one party or another. They believe if it comes into the public domain, or if somebody gets to know about it, they could tomorrow become a victim of some very exclusive targeting. So maybe in this election, that element could be further accentuated.
Narendra Taneja, are you worried that there is a silent voter, that the BJP supporter is most outspoken, that the opposition supporter doesn't open his mouth, goes away when the pollsters come, the BJP supporter comes, beats his chest, says Modi, Modi, the opposition voter is silent? Are you concerned about that, Narendra Taneja?
Not really. I mean, I'm listening to everyone, including Sanjay Jha. I don't want to get into any arguments with him because his focus is entirely different. He is still in the mode of BJP bashing. Elections are getting over. Man, we are discussing exit polls today. Now, the point here is that, I think only political party, I'm talking especially in the Indian context.
It's not yet over.
Only political parties, they have the kind of resources and the reach to really, No, I know election is on Sunday, but I'm just saying that campaigning is over in that sense. My point is that, political parties, they know the ground better. In terms of, exit poll and all this, Falgis is still an evolving science, especially in India. It's more mature in the West, but in India it's still, evolving. And and look at the economics of all these agencies involved in this, engaged in this business. I call it a business because it is a business. Do they have the kind of resources they need in order to produce actually
let me hold you there. One second.
I have my serious doubt
one second.
about
Let me hold you there for a moment. You are making it seem as if polling in the United States is somehow better than in India. One second, sir. Let me tell you that most pollsters got the American presidential election in 2016 wrong. They were completely... Yashwant Deshmukh was polling there at that time. Does anybody here agree with Narendra Taneja that polling in liberal Western... One second. I want to build on that. that polling in the United States is more sophisticated than polling
allow me
in
to
India.
complete my point.
One second, Mr. Taneja, I'm coming back to you. Let me hold you there. Yashwant Deshmukh wants to come in
As a
first.
pollster who does regular polling in US as well as in India, I can say that from every perspective, the polling in Indian demographic, the way as a society is the most challenging one in the entire world. Is still our
There is a
polling
sense amongst people who watch that when it comes to tools, analysis, depth of research.
At par with the Western world. I don't think that our technique, our way of doing the things here are anyway inferior even to the slightest.
What's your
basis.
sense?
I think it generally goes along with the popular notion that whatever is there in America should be better than from India. So if the poll is being conducted in America, it should be better than Indian poll without looking at the data.
No, but it can be argued, more seriously, that polling in the United States is easier because it's a binary. You're either Republican or Democrat.
It's easier.
Here there is
That I understand
Mahagathbandhan,
that.
there's Congress, there's BJP,
Absolutely.
Uttar Pradesh,
It's not
therefore it's
just
more
that.
complicated.
It's also look at the objective realities in an Indian election change much more dramatically than in the US. At the end of the day, there are 4 or 5 swing states that really decide a United States election between the Republicans and the Democrats. Look at what's happened this time in India. Bengal, Odisha. Who would have thought these are states that we're going to look at closely in the 2019 elections? Look at what happened in Chhattisgarh. How many pollsters thought that the Congress would get the kind of majority they did, which they eventually did? So an assembly election, and 5 months later, the same people are now saying maybe the BJP is level pegging in some of these states with the Congress. So you win an election 5 months ago by a considerable majority, and now in a Lok Sabha election, the factors change. So I think the objective realities in an Indian election are constantly changing. It's
Come
much
on,
too
Narendra
plural,
Taneja,
and that
yours
makes
is a government that
I'll give you
says-
an example also in Tamil Nadu, TTV Dinakaran. How do you assess the TTV factor and what damage is he going to do to the AIDMK in an election? It's going to be impossible, I believe. I feel sorry for them because they are being asked by the viewers.
Toughest, I tell you.
They are being asked to
Rahul.
do a math sum, which is unfair.
Which
You know,
is
if
unfair.
they get 90 out of 100, people
Rahul.
will say, "Arey, 100 kyun nahi mila?"
Rahul, when we do the weekly omnibus here, my colleagues in US, my colleagues in Europe, they tell me very frankly that your weekly omnibus is at par with doing with the Eurobarometer, where they are doing, to more than 20 countries together. It is at par with that. We are dealing
Okay,
with
Pradeep
minimum
Gupta,
11 languages on any
Pradeep
given
Gupta,
day
do you
here.
think polling in the United States is easier, tougher? Are your research techniques as sophisticated, as advanced as those used by Gallup and Nate Silver in the United States?
I would say there it is totally different, and here it's different. Here we go and mostly rely, as when it comes to election polling, on face-to-face basis, the physical, and there it is more technological driven and more online and over the phone. That's the big difference. As far as the conclusion part is concerned, in last 4 to 5 years, in particular India, I mean most of the poll came correct. And when it comes to United States, the 2016, as you mentioned, none of the polling agency called it correct.
Okay. Sandeep Shastri, are polling techniques in the United States more refined? Are they somehow using
Rahul,
artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data to do something that Indian pollsters aren't?
Rahul, I cannot persuade myself to agree with that point. I think our techniques, our methods are as sophisticated. Context, of course, matters. It's much more complicated in India. And having been part of teams which have done global studies, I have found that studies done in other parts of the world have looked to studies in India and looked to studies that we do in India as examples of how things should be taken forward. So I think it's
Come on,
I would say
Narendra
it's not
Taneja, yours
right
is
to
a
discount
government that's
and
pushing
to
Make in
say that
India,
the quality
and you're
of work
coming on TV
that
and
we do
saying
in
US
India
polling
is-
techniques are better. We didn't expect that from you, Narendra Taneja. Come on, that's a cop-out. Let down.
Rahul, allow me to speak. Allow me now to speak. I've listened to everyone. I never said the US. You did. So you explain. I was referring to parliamentary democracies. I was referring to parliamentary democracies in Europe, Japan, and Australia. I was referring to parliamentary democracy. We are a parliamentary democracy in this, in India. Now the point I was trying to make is the economics. Number one, economics. Number two, I was referring to the kind of our constituency. Look at, give me an example of one constituency in Uttar Pradesh. Typically 2 million people, different castes, communities, groups, ideologies, and so on and so forth. And what my experience is that when it comes to the real exit poll or any survey for that matter, we do it better than any of these agencies in the country. We do better. We are far more authentic. I don't know about Congress, but I can tell you that in BJP we do it much better than these agencies because we know
so you are saying something different
we
now.
know where to go.
You are saying forget Access My India, forget sea water, forget sea
I
water.
respect for this science.
So we've already, the BJP has already done its polls.
But
the game is over.
Defeat.
That's why when we do that, when we connect with the people, that's why we say we are winning 300 seats, and you will see that on 23rd.
Okay, so let me ask this
In
question.
fact, to be fair, Rahul, in recent times, as
We are talking
Prannoy
science
shows,
here.
Indian pollsters have a very good track
We are talking
record.
science.
The problem is newspapers also are falling into this trap of treating a poll like an arithmetic sum. Arey, aapne kaha tha 95 seats aa gaye, but they got 102. I think unless we start realizing that polls are not an arithmetic sum but are giving you a trend, and that's where I think pollsters have an advantage over reporters. Hum kehte hain hawa ja rahi hai. How much is the hawa? A pollster has a better chance.
No, but let me on a serious note ask that question. The question is this, that political parties have their own polls. The number of people they reach out to is higher than the number of people most private agencies reach out to. Does that then make the polls of political parties more reliable?
Absolutely.
Okay, Yashwant Deshmukh, they have bigger sample sizes. How much is your average sample size in every seat?
Rahul,
What's your average sample
the less
size?
we talk about internal polls, the better. Number one. Let's not get into that direction. I respect everybody. We have our pollster friends who have become politicians. They are in parties, not one but 3 of them actually that I can count on, and Rajdeep can count on as well. So let's not go into that direction. We all know why internal polls are done and how they are used.
No, but Sanjay Kumar, this is a serious question.
Yeah.
What's your average sample size in a constituency?
But it depends, because an average sample size, I would be comfortable with 1,000 because of the sheer heterogeneity, because 1,000 is the, for a billion population, you can do a very good sample, and 1,000 you can get the trend. But that trend is not applicable for a projection of UP. For UP, 1,000 samples are good, but you won't be able to tell the trend in Lucknow. For Lucknow, you have to do 1,000 sample in Lucknow. That's the thing. When you are doing seat by seat calculations, you need to work on the individual seats to get the seat share. Now, what problem is what Rajdeep just mentioned. The Indian media is over fascinated with the seat projection. Please remember, we have been saying this, and I believe Sanjay has been saying that as well, time after time. Survey science stops at the projection of the vote share and picking up the leading party. That's it.
Sanjay Kumar, here's the point. Sample size for a poll done by a political party will be much bigger than that done by a private agency. Does a bigger sample size give a political party a higher chance of getting it right? That's the question.
Higher chance of getting it right if you disaggregate, as Yashwantji was mentioning. If you have to make an assess, see, we have to be very clear. What do you want to assess from a poll? If you do a poll, if you want to assess the political temperature, in a sense, which party is getting how many, what percentages of vote, and how these votes can convert into seats, then you can do with a small sample. But if the idea is, after you do a poll, if I have done a poll, and then you ask, so what is happening in Varanasi, what is happening in Amethi, what is happening in these, I think for that, the party's poll is far better because they have a much bigger sample.
Traditionally, Rahul, the quality of the sample matters more than the quantity. I think over the years, pollsters have been pushed, 10,000 kariye, 20,000 kariye, make it big because everyone wants to put the biggest polls. I think much more than quantity is quality. Post polls, Rahul, according to me, are much better because you get more time, you can go and meet the people in their homes. You mentioned the lie factor. My sense over the years, people coming outside a polling booth tend to lie a little bit more than when they're in the safety of the house. So there are elements we have to look at. Exit polls can go wrong. Post polls are safer.
Okay, the larger sample size in some way give a political party a better chance of getting it right in the internal poll. They say, "Aapka poll to bahut chota." You speak to BJP Congress leaders, they'll say it. We have a much bigger poll. Har seat pe 10,000 logon se baat kiye. Does that then give an internal poll a higher chance of getting it right as opposed to what Access My India will do?
Yeah, most important is it should be representative across the demography and geography. If you can maintain that and if you can do that, I would say the polling is done correctly and you are likely to get very close to the result. And to do so, we go to each and every Lok Sabha constituency in the country. This time we are going and we are polling roughly 1000 to 1500 people in that constituency, depend on the size.
Okay, so
Rahul, one point which I want to quickly
Size of the
in every
constituency.
election,
For
one
example,
party wins and one party
in
loses,
Lakshadweep,
right?
there are only 50,000 voters.
okay, go on,
So,
Pradeep.
let Pradeep finish.
In Lakshadweep, there are only in Lakshadweep, there are only 50,000 voters, which is the smallest Lok Sabha constituency in the country. And if you go to any constituency in Uttar Pradesh, it is between 16 lakhs to 20 lakhs voter size. So you have to be, make the representation accordingly.
In fact, it's the other way around.
The
The science
demography
says
and the
smaller the
geography.
universe, the
Then
larger
you
the
are done
sample
with it.
size. So you are likely to do much bigger sample in Lakshadweep to get it right than in Varanasi on Lucknow. Point which I was trying to make, in every election, Rahul, one party wins, another loses, right? Have you ever came across any internal poll of any party whatsoever who has said we have lost this election?
I must,
Any party, one
as I
single
go
one.
into this break, just leave this insight with our viewers. Over this election and in many past elections,
Rahul, can
we've
I make
seen
a point,
lots
please?
of IB polls done by the Intelligence Bureau or the State Intelligence Bureau, polls done by state parties, which are convinced that their party is winning. Those internal polls never show less than 2/3 or 3/4 majority.
IB calls
Most
us.
of the polls
IB
are
calls
wrong.
us to find out kya ho raha hai, and then they do an average of all the journalists. And what did the BJP poll said in the 3 assembly elections? Ask him if they are getting it so accurate all the time.
So if you ever want to believe something, believe a well conducted,
Rahul, can I make a
thoroughly
point, please?
scientific post-poll study by one of our pollsters, as opposed to believing an internal party poll. Internal party polls are only telling bosses what they want to hear, as is also the case most often with the Intelligence Bureau. I hope not too many of our friends in the IB are watching this just at this moment. We'll slip into a quick break, but their polls are really wrong. They should stick to fighting terror. That's what they do best. Leave the polling to the pollsters. When we come back, some more serious questions will be posed on this special broadcast. In which state is the fear factor the highest in this election? Also, could this be a 2004-like poll where you're all talking about India shining, and when the verdict comes, something else comes out of the verdict in the end? So what are the lessons the pollsters learned from the 2014 exit poll fiasco? And also, are elections in India getting more presidential? That big India Today exit poll. We're not giving out exit poll numbers just yet, but we're trying to give our viewers a better sense, a deeper sense of what goes into the making of an exit poll and what are the factors that our pollsters are keeping in mind as they crunch this data. So I want to ask the next question on this special broadcast: in which state is the fear factor the highest amongst voters? Let me put that question first to Pradeep Gupta of Access My India. Pradeep.
Yeah, of course it is in West Bengal, this time particularly.
Why are you saying that fear is highest amongst voters in
Very
West Bengal?
difficult, very difficult to do. I mean, the kind of violence taking place in each and every phase, the kind of two parties, workers are fighting with each other. In fact, the voters are also getting scared. If they say something, if they don't know us, and our pollster, the surveyors go and do the survey. And if it happens otherwise, if somebody is coming from any party, they are going to have a tough time.
Sandeep Shastri, do you share that contention?
In many occasions, straight away people called police station.
That it's in West Bengal that the fear factor is the highest in this election?
Straight away police.
Sandeep Shastri.
I would agree with Pradeep ji that the fear factor happens to be the highest in West Bengal. I think we are seeing it as part of our survey. We are seeing it as part of the public image that is emerging. But let's also remember that Andhra Pradesh did see a huge fear factor. And I think the fear factor in both these cases is linked to the nature of the intensity of the contest between the two key players. Andhra also saw this fear factor playing out because of the stiff competition between the TTP and the
Rajdeep, you traveled nationwide over the last 2 months.
I think where the fear factor
Where do you think the fear factor was
visible.
highest?
it's difficult to say where it's highest. I mean, it's clear to my mind that in Bengal, this is a very unusual election taking place. Not for the first time. I mean, we've had it during the left years. We make it out to be as if violence in Bengal only started with Mamata Banerjee. It's always existed. It's a tough election. Andhra Pradesh, again, notoriously, pollsters have it's one of those states where you can get wrong. The famous NTR election, new factor, many pollsters got that election wrong at the time. I think Tamil Nadu is again a tough state because, people are worried that, if they tell the truth, will someone deny them the benefits that come from government schemes? So I think, fear exists at various levels, but I would like to believe the fear factor has become less over the years. I would like to believe that in this multimedia age with so much of media around us, people are slowly getting used to the fact that, we are part of this democracy. They feel much more involved in a strange sort of way. You may not see them out on the streets. You may not see the carnival atmosphere that existed 20, 25 years ago during elections. But I think people are now much more confident of where they stand. I find that among the young. A lot of the young, and this is going to be a big factor, Rahul, the youth factor, this 18 to 25 vote bank. And I think you're going to have to look at that and women. I find for the first time, if you feel, earlier you thought that if the man or the so-called guardian of the house voted a particular way, the woman voted the same way. I'm no longer sure of that. There are women who are coming out, even in rural India, who you can sit now in a corner and talk to, and they have very clear views of their politics. So that makes it interesting.
Is there a fear, Yashwant Deshmukh, amongst voters that pollsters are actually representing some political party? That they come pretending to be pollsters, ye ya to AIDMK ka, IDMK ka, BJP ka, Congress ka, and therefore the fear factor is very high?
I can't say. I mean, because maybe because our identity has been more of a media polling, so people don't, distrust or they come and talk. That's not the case. But yes, arguably, usual suspect, even though is West Bengal in these elections. But my proven problem in my team has been from Andhra Pradesh this time on violence. So far, in so many phases in West Bengal, not a single place we had to postpone the field work from the polling day to the post-election thing because of violence or the fears of violence. But big number of places in Andhra Pradesh, because of violence and because of possibility of violence, we had to withdraw the researchers on security ground to conduct a post-poll later rather than on the polling day.
Narendra Taneja in West Bengal, that voters are scared that ultimately no matter what happens in a Lok Sabha election, rehna to Mamata ke saath hi hai, and therefore that fear factor holds them back even if they were at one level thinking about wanting to vote BJP?
Well, you see, the West Bengal is of course an area of worry in the sense that, it's Mamata Banerjee and the goons and the gangs in the rural areas in particular, the way they have been operating, knocking people at the door at midnight and, distributing these white saris, sending a message, if you go out, your men go out, or you go out and vote for BJP, then that means your men could be killed. So this is a fear. I mean, this is a fear. What is been done in a very systematic manner over the past 3 months. So West Bengal, number one, to answer your question, and Kerala.
Rahul, I think everybody heard Maneka Gandhi's campaign in Uttar Pradesh and her very brazenly telling the people that if I don't get the vote from you, don't expect me to actually do any quid pro quo. You may not be the beneficiary of any development work. And I think that was a very open case of intimidation and threat. And you can imagine, because you live in an electronic age of WhatsApp and social media, these things were distributed across the country. So it's not just the minorities who felt insecure there. I think everyone across the country, no matter where you came from, recognized that the political system can be very hawkish and it can have a big brother attitude. So I do believe that's a very huge challenge in India, and I do believe that while it has been prevalent in the past, it has got aggravated over the last 5 years.
Last question on this special show. What lessons have pollsters learned from the 2004 exit poll fiasco? Remember in 2004, as was the case in 2019 before the polls actually started, everyone was saying that NDA is winning, and then on counting day that changed. Are there similarities, Rajdeep? What are the lessons the pollsters have learned since then, or should have learned at least?
No, I actually think polling has become more scientific. I think there is a greater rigor that all of us adopt to polling. So I would like to believe in 2004, there was a sense there were fewer pollsters, correct me if I'm wrong, and there was less scrutiny maybe than there is today. Today there's much greater scrutiny. And 2004, Rahul, frankly, went wrong in 2 states. When you look at it, yes, to some extent Uttar Pradesh, but primarily it was Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh which decided that election. The NDA chose the wrong allies there. As it turned out, Rajshekar Reddy bested Chandrababu Naidu and the DMK bested AIDMK. So I don't think it was a verdict, to suggest as if we had got the entire election wrong. And that's the danger of an Indian election, a Lok Sabha election. You get a couple of states wrong, like Bengal and UP. In this election, if Bengal and UP go wrong for a particular pollster, the numbers could go horribly wrong.
The single lesson which I learned from 2004 was, even if you do the best of the survey, even if you get the survey right, you might get the seat share completely wrong. Because 2004 was the election when the surveys estimated absolutely correctly that NDA would be getting 1.5% votes more than the UPA, which precisely happened. But the seat share happened the other way around. Because whenever, say in 2004, we have done so much of research at that point of time, what went wrong? And we were like, what exactly was that? We said that, okay, Tamil Nadu, NDA is losing, but losing like, we said we projected 7 or 8 seats, they got 0. We said, okay, NDA is losing Bengal. Mamata Banerjee was with NDA at that point of time, and she would get only about 7-8 seats. She was the only one winner in the entire West Bengal.
How did all of you get UP wrong? UP suddenly, Vajpayee state, suddenly all collapsed.
What happened? That 4-5, the cumulative loss of the BJP became 50-60 seats, or the NDA became 50-60 seats. So if you go back to the recordings and pull out those things, you will figure out each and every state actually the pollsters got the trend right, just that the polls trend went further in a sweeping way, this way or that way.
And that's the danger of
polling. So ironically, Rahul, even though we say that 2004 was the debacle of the Indian polling, ironically, from the vote share perspective, it was a perfect poll to be done.
Sometimes I wonder why we even do all these exit polls, because 5 days later, people will know what's really happened on the 23rd, from the 19th to the 23rd. So much tension. In the end, if you get it wrong, Rajdeep's going to get badly trolled. We'll get trolled as well.
No, the old theory, Rahul. If we get it right, you and I will take the credit. If we get it wrong, Pradeep Gupta will get the blame. Very clearly. The rules have been set.
Pradeep, are you okay with that arrangement, Pradeep?
Pradeep knows the rules. He's comfortable with it.
So who's most nervous, Pradeep?
Yes,
you, Amit Shah, Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi. Who's most nervous?
No, it's a test for us. I don't know about them, but definitely it's a big test for us, Access My India. We have to maintain our track record. We have to maintain our track record. There's another nervousness out of our past success, I would say.
Narendra Taneja, in conclusion, who's most nervous, the Netas or the pollsters?
We are very confident. In fact, we have already started working on the calendar post 23rd in terms of celebrations, in terms of portfolios, also in terms of getting suggestions.
Sir, उन्होंने तो सूट सिला लिया है, संजय जी, आपने सिलाया कि नहीं? They're all lining up the laddus. They've got their suits and bandgalas being stitched for the cabinet swearing in. Sanjay, are you doing anything like that? Are you planning summer holidays?
Yeah.
And
let's suggest. Yeah, we'll have a bandgalas, but no, bandgalas are getting ready, but they're not monogrammed. The bandgalas are ready, but they're not monogrammed. And I think the BJP is ordering the laddus that we will finally eat. But if you looked at the body language of Mr. Modi today in that press conference where he did not take a single question, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who was simultaneously holding a press conference, you could see the difference about who's looking more positive, who's looking more upbeat and confident with enough reason.
I'm tired with this election. It's been too long. I just want this to get over now.
Sanjay ji?
And that is something
Rahul, it's very easy when you're the Prime Minister of the country and you're traveling in BMWs from one AC aircraft to another.
No, when we met him, Rajdeep,
but look at us,
he was complaining his chopper doesn't have an AC. It's that Air Force chopper, he told us. He said it looks easy, it's not easy.
Full marks to his energy. No one doubts the Prime Minister's energy. It's remarkable. As is Rahul Gandhi's, as is all politicians. Mamata Banerjee, I did a padiyatra with her. She walks at the speed of Usain Bolt. Now, you're dealing with these now, but I think tired is journey. We have no protection. You see, we don't have any AC rooms to go to.
The only way to find out what's in the India Today exit poll is to watch India Today 4 p.m. onwards on Sunday. Please don't call Rajdeep or me. There can be no Teen Patti style sideshow. There's only one way to find out. That's by watching our channel 4 p.m. onwards. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.